The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their number one fan.
All right, let's get to it. 6 biggest storylines at 6 o'clock. We'll do this a couple times a week during the regular season. Starting with today, Wednesday, where we have a new but old face. And Anthony, by the way, I'm going to need you to hit the numbers today. And I'm also going to need you to hit the sound bites because of where we're at with all the technologies of the things. So sorry to have you working overtime over there. But new face, old face is number 1? Maybe? No! No!
It will not play.
What? See, what had happened was... Okay, it's number 1. We'll see if we can figure out the number situation. Jamison Crowder, signed to the practice squad. Crowder is a guy that obviously has punt return experience. He has punt return experience here in Washington, but he hasn't been a regular player almost since he left. He had a couple good years with the Jets, but his career kind of tailed off a little bit. Very inconsistent for a long time, but a guy that obviously when he was here was really, really good. One of the better slot receivers in the conference, maybe even in all of football at some of his peak. But he also has that punt return experience. Not like he only had 9 returns last year in Buffalo, and he fumbled one of them. So there is something here to consider, that it's not just like, oh, automatic upgrade to Dax Milne, but it gives him another option. And after Kaz Allen didn't really work out in the preseason, not ready yet, they wanted a more veteran option and someone with maybe a little bit more pop and potential, which is why Ron Rivera went out and signed the man who started his career in Washington as number 80 and is rocking the number 83 in practice this week.
Well, first of all, a veteran that was comfortable out there, going to catch punts for us. He looked really good. He's a very crafty, shifty route runner, and kind of looking for a little more veteran guy out there as well to help out. And we'll see how it goes, how the rest of this week unfolds.
So you got that, and then also I think it is worth mentioning that I just took a peek at the injury report. You know who's a DNP today, Anthony? You know who did not practice today with a groin injury?
I did see that.
Who was it? I'll let you tell the people.
Dax Milne.
Yeah, DNP on a Wednesday is not good, bro. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but that is coming off of weeks off. I'm going to call it less than ideal. Less than ideal on the Dax Milne front. So, Rod, as you hear at the end there, hey, we'll see how the rest of the week goes. But Dax Milne, DNP, groin, and I think they very much wanted to make sure that they did not have to go to Kaz Allen this week, calling him up off the practice squad. So Crowder gives them that. The one other thing I'll say, the new practice squad rules are great. They allow for this kind of thing to happen where you sign a guy and they can up him this week without, and it's like a practice squad call up, not a full on, hey, we're signing this guy to a veteran contract. But if they wanted to sign him long-term for the rest of the year, it's beneficial to do it after this week. When you have a vested veteran, which means you played a certain amount, and you sign a guy before the season, his contract is guaranteed for the year. He's going to get paid, and it counts against your cap. You sign him after week 1, aka you sign him in week 2 or later, it can be more of a week-to-week thing. You cut him, you just move on. And so for cap and cash purposes, it behooves them to sign Crowder to the practice squad. And if they want to bring him up, fine, but you don't sign into a full-time 53-man roster deal until next week. All right, number 2.
Number 2.
Oh, hey! We get credit to Tom the engineer on that one, Anthony? Or did you figure it out all by yourself?
I have 2 computers, so that's more so what I'm doing right
now.
But we're figuring it out for future purposes.
That was kind of you. Tom the engineer can wave to everybody and say, hey, Tom who fixes everything. We appreciate him greatly. All right, number 2, they've named their captains. John Allen, Terry McLaurin, Jeremy Reeves, Kendall Fuller new this year. I don't think he was a captain last year, although he might have been, actually. Tress Way, captain again. Always great when your punter's your captain. And when your punter's Tress Way, he belongs as a captain. Oh, and Sam Howell. Yeah, the quarterback in his second year, his one career start, and that awesome speech after the Dallas game last year that showed you the moxie and leadership that he has already earned the respect of his teammates. Sam Howell named a captain, and here's what he said about that feat that he was named a team captain.
Yeah, it means a lot. Definitely another thing that I don't take for granted. Just to be named a team captain and it being voted on by other guys on the team means a lot to me, and it's definitely something that I don't take lightly. So yeah, that's definitely very thankful of my teammates for giving me that honor.
And for obviously now him leading this organization into the biggest game they've had in a long time. Like, I know the playoff games were important, and the playoff game against Brady a couple years ago was huge, and the legend of Heineke was born. But ultimately, like, we knew that was a bit for funsies. They're playing with house money. We know that they're not winning the Super Bowl. It's been a long time since they played a truly meaningful for the organization level game. So what's it going to be like for Captain Sam Howell to lead the team out this Sunday?
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity. Obviously this is a very exciting time in this organization and in this franchise, and to get out there on Sunday at FedEx Field in front of a sold-out crowd, it's a dream come true. And it's a really big blessing for me to just have this opportunity to lead this team out there on Sunday, and I'm just going to try to do everything I can to make the most of it. This is definitely not something that I take for granted, and I know I'm super blessed to have this opportunity. So I'm going to try to do everything I can all week to prepare and give myself the best chance to go out there on Sunday and be successful.
There you go. You know what would help him? Having all of his mates out there with him, which brings us to
number 3.
Yeah, Chase Young, Terry McLaurin in pads practicing. Technically both listed as limited. Terry told reporters after he was basically full. Chase Young still awaiting final approval by his doctors, but Ron Rivera talked about getting these two guys ready to go for Sunday.
It's always a balancing thing because again, you appreciate young men like this that want to get out there and play and play with their teammates, and it's one of those things that that I have a tremendous amount of respect when I see guys that do whatever it takes and to do the little things, and that's what you're seeing from both these young men. They're doing the little things, they're paying attention to what they're being told, and they're doing the best they can. Now we'll know as the week progresses.
So we'll see, but it is the kind of thing. I'm going to talk about both separately, so let's not try to lump them together for the purposes of the discussion that we're having. For Chase, it's pretty straightforward. Doctor says you can play, you can play. He's not at some kind of massive injury risk in terms of re-injury based off a stinger. Of course, he could re-injure it, but obviously he could injure it in the first place. There's not some elevated risk. They're not worried about, hey, if he gets hit here or he's compensating this way, he's going to cause an injury somewhere else in his arm and his neck and his back and his shoulder. It's a fairly... I don't know if this is a technically right way I want to say this, but it's the best I can come up with right now. It's a fairly isolated injury. He is going to either be able to play because the doctors approve him or not. He is doing the things he needs to be ready in case he gets that clearance. It would be really nice if he could get it before, but a lot of times they don't wind up meeting with the doctors till Friday, and part of that is competitive advantage. Part of that is the way an NFL schedule works. So that's Chase. For Terry, it's a very different story. If there is risk that you could re-aggravate this thing and it become something you have to deal with all year based off where it is in the healing process, I would be ultra conservative. And that's not just because you're playing the Cardinals, right? Kym and I talked about this yesterday. You can't look at the opponent and be like, oh, it's the Cardinals. We can win without him. As fans, sure. As a team, no, that's not how that works. And by the way, I really want Terry out there for the emotional lift, and I want him to be able to experience that first game at FedEx Field and be out there making plays. But what I don't want is him to play 3 quarters, re-aggravate the toe, and miss the next 3 weeks. So it totally depends on where he is in the healing process. If it's healed, he's fine because he's healed. If he's not, there is definitely an elevated risk of whether it's re-injury to the toe or him compensating with a changed running pattern and doing something to his ankle, knee, or hip, or back, or whatever, up the chain, and from the toe everything's up the chain. So it just depends. And obviously, as someone who's not evaluated Terry and isn't a medical professional, I cannot tell you where he is. It's impossible to know. But I would say it's very encouraging that he was out there in full pads running around and is quote-unquote confident that he's going to play on Sunday. Even more confidence, that brings us to number 4 in our pick 6.
Number 4.
Logan Thomas. He's not on the injury report at all. And I think this is huge. He is the best tight end they have. Cole Turner, a lot of potential. I think over time can continue to grow. I think Curtis Hodges, obviously the same thing. Those two both, but especially Turner, are going to play big roles this year. John Bates, phenomenal blocker. Shout out to him. He'll catch a couple balls. Great. But Logan Thomas is the best guy at both. And not necessarily he's a better blocker than Bates, but he is probably the best receiver, and he is a good blocker. So you get him out there, your offense opens up. We know how valuable the tight end is in Eric Bieniemy's offense, and here's how Ron Rivera feels about Logan Thomas, the veteran, being ready to go for week 1.
Looked good. He did. For everything that was going on the side, Logan was in all the meetings, he did all the walkthroughs. That's one thing that he did while he was doing all of his rehab. He did all the walkthroughs, so he was getting, that. The biggest thing he's been working on the last 2 weeks has really been timing between him and Sam, and it looks like it's starting to come together.
So that's great news. Love to see it. Practice has been good. He's been back in it, and he was not listed full participant on the injury report. That brings us to the biggest off the field story of the day, which is a real good one.
Number 5.
Magic Johnson was at practice. And Magic is going to be at the game this weekend. Of course, a limited partner in Josh Harris's ownership group. Harris was also at practice today, but Harris is, being there or has been there a lot. It's actually a really good article. Shout out our guy Matt Paris, who got to sit down with Paris and Harris. Paris got to sit down with Harris pretty recently at FedEx Field. I think it was during one of the events based off the description they have with music playing in the background. But Josh said, I'm going to be there a lot. Magic, he's not going to be here all the time, but he'll be here for big events. And the game Sunday is a big one. But I also think the impact he can have, not just as hey, I'm Mr. Community, which you better on planet Earth to be a Mr. Community than Magic Johnson. But this dude is a 5-time world champion. This dude is one of the best 10 players in the history of the NBA. This dude played 12 NBA seasons and went to 9 NBA finals. Super competitive, super talented champion. So what's it like having that guy speak to this group of players, Rivera, after practice?
I think that's one of the cool things because, when you talk about coaches that have played in the league, it doesn't necessarily mean you're better than anybody. It just gives you perspective. And then when you take a person as iconic as Magic, who's won 5 championships as a player and 5 championships as an NBA owner, you sit there and you say, wow, he's got an unbelievable resume. And so what he does, what he says resonates very strongly with these young men. What I found really cool is in just talking with our players about the new ownership. One of the things that they've said is just the fact that, they've been able to sit down, talk with them, have lunch with them. Mr. Harris came in a couple of times and has had meetings with our guys during training camp and spent a little bit of time and asked them specific questions about what can we do, how can we help. And then they've gone out and done these things. And that's kind of the communications that our players have had with these guys. But at the same time, them following through has been really, really big for the guys. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're pretty excited. I mean, having Mr. Harris come in and, talk to the guys, introduce Magic, and then, sit back and let Magic do his thing. And then every now and then he would interject and the players would respond. I mean, it was really neat. It really was.
I have no doubt. Really, sometimes Ron says stuff is neat, and I'm like, was it? This one? No doubt, man. That had to be such a cool conversation. And players, for better or for worse, players respect clout. And Magic is a billionaire who is an icon. There's no better clout you can have than being an icon. And they also respect, if you made a Billy, players are going to be yeah, tell me what's up, Mr. Harris. Tell me what's up, Mr. Rails. Tell me what's up, Mark Hine, Mr. Hine. There's going to be a respect there if they are human, approachable, and are willing to share secrets of their success. Dan Snyder had none of that. Like, and I don't say that to just like beat up on Snyder, but the experience of being a player in this franchise is now permanently changed because Dan Snyder didn't have any secrets to success. He got lucky at the right time with one business that got him enough money and to buy the Commanders or buy Washington, who was going in the middle of like a crisis in terms of the sale because of the estate of Jack Kent Cooke. And like, you know the story. But now you have Harris, who's a billionaire, all these other billionaires around, and Magic, who, from a clout standpoint, sits above them all because he's Magic Johnson. I'll also tell you, he did an interview with Logan, Santana, and Smoot on Command Center. I don't know when it's coming out on the Commanders YouTube channel, but Logan did that before we recorded Take Command today. So, let's see. Tomorrow's Thursday. You'll get a full pod. Friday, we did a Take 5 of the kind of the behind the scenes of all that. And Logan talking about sitting down with Magic was really, really cool. So we might play that for you on the radio, but just subscribe to Take Command and you can get that. All right, last but not least.
Number 6.
First game this weekend for Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, and the rookies, Ron Rivera, on what it's going to take to prepare them.
It's too late to go home now. Shoot. I mean, in a joking fashion, I do say that, and they say, hey, come on, you've earned us, let's go. And really just try to, just keep them focused on the task at hand. It's, we got a good group, we really do, and they work hard at it. Emmanuel had a really good practice today, and Quan is a guy that is going to be able to contribute as well. So we feel very comfortable with those guys. Ricky's going to be in his situation, circumstances, being ready to play if called upon. These guys are I think, a good class. They really are. So it'll be exciting to watch them get their opportunities to go out there, whether it be on special teams or some first and second down plays on offense or defense.
So we will see. I expect Forbes to be the only guy who plays with any regularity in terms of starters minutes. Martin certainly to come off the bench in rotation. And then we'll see about the defensive ends. KJ Henry, Andre Jones Jr., they're probably going to get some minutes this year. And then the big question mark to me in terms of minutes, if you will. I know we don't use that term often. Snaps, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes we call them minutes. Logan calls them minutes. Logan calls them minutes. I can call them minutes. Chris Rodriguez. I think he could have a big role this year if he gets hot. I think realistically, like the two guys ahead of him are probably going to still dominate the snaps. But I think there's a chance that a couple of games, especially, Rodriguez gets some serious run because of his physical bruising style. And he'll be successful, and they'll just want to keep feeding him because that's how Bieniemy rolls. That is Pick 6. Top 6 stories of the day delivered hot, fresh to you at 6 o'clock. We might do it again tomorrow, see what's going on with all of the news. Definitely on Friday, our Pick 6. Mondays and Fridays, we'll just keep it the same. Same thing we did in the preseason. We'll pick 6 players who we're most interested in, who we think will impact the game. And then Monday, we'll see how they did.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.